Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us here in person and each of you joining us online. We always really appreciate starting our Sunday mornings with you. Today I wanted to talk about overcoming obstacles with hope, because so often this life is full of different obstacles. We have challenges that come at us from many different sides in our life. It's a big part of where we get those spurts of growth, but it doesn't mean it's always comfortable. And sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming. Sometimes when we are going through, especially some long-term challenges or obstacles, it might feel like we get a little battered from it, or we get a little bit down. We find ourselves falling into depression or anxiety. So I wanted to talk about overcoming those obstacles with the 4-letter word of hope and how we can move forward with that. So whenever we are facing challenges, one of the things to keep in mind, whether it is something you're dealing with in your work life, or maybe it's a family situation, maybe there's an illness that feels like it's an obstacle that just keeps beating up on you. Whatever it is that you are going through right now, your mindset has a lot to do with how the things will play out around you and what you end up magnetizing towards yourself. Our thoughts are like magnets, and the way we perceive things, the way we choose to interact in this life, where our mindset is, how we are focused on what's going on, that is what really draws to us all of the different circumstances that end up coming in around us. We really are electromagnetic beings. That's what the biofield is made of around us, and our thoughts empower that biofield around us, meaning that we are always magnetizing to us what our thoughts are. So if you are really concerned and worried frequently that something's going to happen, or you're waiting for that phone call, then probably something is going to happen, or you're going to get a phone call with some bad news. And it's an unfortunate and hard part of this life that we need to figure out how to fine-tune our mind. It's as though we can program, like a computer, we can program how our mind works. And when we get to do that, when we start really doing that, we are able to start rising above so many of the illusions of this world and being able to supercharge what we do in this life. And one of the best ways to start doing that is employing hope, being able to call on, to draw up from deep within yourself that aspect of hope. There was a book that was written quite some time ago called The Audacity of Hope, and I love the way that is phrased, because it seems like no matter what situation we find ourselves in, no matter how dark or bleak it may seem to get at certain points in our life, there is always at certain points that ray of hope that shines in, and it says, maybe we can do something. Maybe there is a solution. Maybe I need to change things up. No matter what is going on, you might not see it all the time, but there will be that ray of hope that comes in. And that is because that is such an important gift that we are given in this light. This life. It's the light of our soul that is shining through and radiating with a message to us not to give up, and reminding us of all of the resources that there are within our lives when we remember the power that we have standing in the light of who we authentically are, and recognizing the light and the energy and all the solutions that are always all around us. So when we can remember to keep that light of hope on within us, it allows us to be able to face challenging situations with a mindset of hopefulness. And when we have that mindset of hopefulness, we start realizing we're not really boxed in. We are not subject to whatever challenges come our way, but we have a million solutions, a million possibilities, and so many ways that what we were concerned might not work out, that it actually can work out. Hope is the key that awakens our mindset to be able to be magnetizing to us that which we want to create. So we don't feel the burden of the obstacle, but instead we see through that with the eyes of hope to where the solution is. What is the action I need to do? Who is the person I need to contact? What can I do today to start moving in the right direction of getting out from the weight of this obstacle, or finding out what is the lesson that this is here to teach me? Hope allows us to shift into being magnetic beings, drawing the good to us every day. And hope brings resiliency. One of the things that I love with hope is that it allows us to explore and to get curious about our own resiliency. Have you ever noticed in your life when you start to think about a situation that you got through in the past that was a really hard situation, and maybe at the time it felt very formidable and you just weren't sure how you would ever move through it or if you would even make it, and yet when you do break through and you overcome whatever the obstacle was, you start to realize that you're more resilient than you realized, that you have more ability to stretch and to grow and to spring back into the joyfulness within you, or to come back into feeling the light in your life. Sometimes challenges and obstacles that we have, they become old familiar friends. We might have something like anxiety that for years and years, it's something we try to figure out how to deal with, how to overcome depression, how to overcome anxiety. And it feels like it's so much a part of us that we don't know how to associate it as being something out there. But hope can bring us in touch with finding out how truly resilient you are and how you can overcome anxiety. You can overcome depression. You can learn to adapt to being differently abled or chronic illness or something that feels like it, maybe you know certain parts of it might not go away, but you can develop a resiliency of adapting to how you need to be in new situations. And before you know it, you find out that your soul, your personality, your aspects of emotions actually are more adaptable and stronger because of what it is that you broke through. And the light of hope, it helps us to find all of our options, to explore the ways that we can move through our lives. It helps us with navigating our options. Hope is an amazing friend and a great guide when you're trying to figure out, what are my options? How do I do this? Where do I even get started? And what are all the possibilities? Because when we don't have hope, if we feel like all is lost, there are no options, those often go hand in hand. All is lost means you feel cut off from being able to make another choice. You may feel cut off from resourcefulness, or you feel cut off from knowing what next steps you can do. So drawing in the light of hope means it's as though you're creating your own map. You become the navigator of your life. You are putting yourself back in charge of seeing that there are so many options. When we are going through the maze of life sometimes and we feel like we hit a dead end, when we detach from hope, we sometimes feel like we crumble in that dead end and we just don't know where to go. But when you bring in the light of hope, you realize maybe you can walk backwards. Maybe you can draw your own lines, cut your own door, or jump over what feels like it's blocking you and chart a new path. Hope allows us to navigate our options and be able to come into a place where we are writing our own story and we are charting options. And if you have a hard time figuring out what are the other options that you can take, start to look at maybe people that you know that have been through similar situations, or research online people who have been through obstacles, facing challenges like you are challenging, and look up how to become victorious over whatever the obstacle is, or inspiring stories of those who have overcome whatever the obstacle is. And it will help you to open your mind to these other possibilities, and it will help you get back in touch with the light of hope that is within you. It is part of the resiliency of the human spirit. Our nature is to be beings that are always seeking more, searching for more, and looking for that light of hope. The light of hope is a guide within us that assists us as we chart our course, as we navigate uncharted territory, and we figure out what makes sense for us. The light of hope also helps us when we are persevering in the face of adversity. In those situations where you feel like it has been long enough and you feel like you maybe don't even know what it feels like to be not facing adversity. Maybe you feel like you've had weeks or months or years where there's constantly one challenge and then another challenge, and you feel like you and your adversary are at odds with each other, and maybe your adversary, it feels like, is life. And so how do you get through that? Turning to the light of hope. Hope is what lifts us up out of adversity so that we can persevere. The human spirit is so resilient. The human spirit is so remarkable. And because of that, sometimes we face remarkable challenges, which give us opportunities to be able to discover how strong we really are, how creative we really are, and to help us to light up the path of seeing hope again. Hope not only lights the path, it also lifts us up. If you feel at times like there is nothing that lifts you out of the mood that you are in, look to the light of hope. Look deeply within yourself and find out where you can come up with one possibility, one option, maybe 3 options. And you'll notice as you tap into the essence of hope in yourself, more options come. You feel yourself lifted up. You start to feel that weight on your shoulders. It starts to fall away, and you realize you are not alone in this. There is not a single challenge that you are facing in your life that there hasn't been anyone else that has faced. Sometimes we feel like we are alone on an island, and we feel like no one could have possibly been through all of the things that we have been through and survived. But they have, and hopefully that can help you to take comfort in recognizing if they survived, then you can survive. And if they grew, then you can grow. And if they found their way out of that darkness and the light of hope helped them, it can help you as well. There is nothing that separates you from the most successful person on earth. You have all of the same resiliency. You have the same strength within you. You have the same capacity. Success is measured in so many different ways. Some people measure success as things like wealth. Some measure success as love. Some measure success as friendship. Some measure success as accumulation. Others measure success as getting rid of everything. There are so many paths. There is not just one path. So it is about what is right for you. The light of hope can guide you to being able to discover what is your path. What are your special gifts? What makes you unique and special? What are the unique talents and abilities and paths that you have within your life that cause you to be able to make a difference, not only in your own life, but in the lives of others? When we are searching for happiness and we're trying to figure out where to find it, how to bring it into our lives, the best way to do that is to focus on making other people happy. And it sounds kind of weird, But it really makes sense if you do things, small things, to help make people happy. And I'm not talking about being a people pleaser. That's a whole different issue. I'm talking about doing things where you try to spark joy in the lives of others. And as you do that and you see their joy, you're going to feel that light of joy in yourself. And when you feel those sparks of joy that lights up in yourself, that ignites the light of hope even more. So allow yourself to recognize how to bring in the light of hope, to use hope to help you when you're persevering in the face of adversity, to navigate your options, and also for personal growth. Hope is what inspires change. If we are wanting to grow in ourselves, if we are wanting to move out of the shell that we are in. I love the small sea creatures that when they grow out of their shell or they see a new shell that looks prettier than the one that they have, they'll pop off their old shell, pop on a new one, and go about their day. We too can do that ourselves. We can make huge changes in our lives, and we can make small changes in our lives as well. And as we do that, we start learning how to encourage our own personal growth. We learn how to not just stay stagnant in the things that we've known, but how to have courage, how to have faith, that it's okay to try new things, how to believe in yourself, that you can do something that you've never done before, and that it is okay to explore those options. Hope assists us in personal growth. Hope gives us that resiliency and that light of wanting to explore, to try new things, and to enjoy seeing how far we can grow. Knowing that it is okay to fail sometimes too. Sometimes we feel like if we try something new, we want to make sure we succeed at it in whatever way we're defining success is in that moment. But when we fail, that means we're learning something. It's not failure in a bad way. It means we just got some information. We learned. We can grow from that. Hope is the thing that when we have those times that we fail and we go, that was not the result that I expected to have, we can stand back up and say, okay, well, what did I learn from this? That's very interesting. That didn't go as I expected, but we'll see what happens the next time as I change this a little bit, as I choose something else a little bit. And hope presses us forward to want to keep choosing and discovering these new paths that we can grow through. Hope grows grace. When we have hope in our lives, we begin to come to a place where we can see that we don't have to define success in the way that someone else does. We can have an unexpected result that maybe in the past we thought, well, that's a failure or that completely messed up. Hope grows grace so that we can see that same thing and look at it and say, oh, that was unique. Oh, I lost a little bit on that. Okay, that's fine. It was worth it for the lesson that I got. Hope grows grace in that when we are worried about somebody else, we are concerned if they are doing okay. We are concerned if our children are going to make it okay. We are concerned about our pets. Hope is the thing that can allow us to extend grace. When you have a new puppy, and the puppy can be a lot of work. Sometimes puppies will chew everything and they need to get trained and all of these different things. There can be a lot of frustration along the way as you're just starting to work with the puppy, even more so if you've never had a puppy and this is your first one. But if it weren't for hope, you wouldn't have the expectation that this little puppy that has no idea of any rules is going to grow into a beautiful dog that will be an amazing companion that will live in your home in a way that is joyful for all of you, and that he will learn to stop chewing the furniture. Without hope, we don't have an expectation of success. So hope allows us to grow grace. Hope allows us with that puppy when he maybe chews a brand new pair of shoes into little tiny shreds that look like confetti. Not that I experienced that in the past. That hope allows you to grow grace, knowing that that's not going to happen to every new pair of shoes. It was a learning moment. Same thing with our kids. Our kids grow, our kids learn, they make mistakes. And if it weren't for hope, we would be more fearful of those mistakes that they made. But instead, we extend grace because we know that they are learning. And so we have hope that they're going to learn more, do better, grow into beautiful, wonderful, contributing members of society. And if we don't have hope within ourselves, we become too harsh on ourselves. We need to give grace to ourselves in the same way that you give grace to the kitten that scratches you accidentally, in the same way that you give grace to your children who just are working on learning on how to do things better. Give grace to yourself. Lean into hope, because hope will inspire you to see that you are worthy of that light of grace. Hope grows grace, and hope can become an unshakable, unwavering, incredible essence that allows you to have faith in yourself. It allows you to have faith in something far higher than us that we are a part of, in the same way that I sometimes say we are in the universe and the universe is in us, because we're one, all the same. It's all the same light being expressed in different ways. And having hope in the cosmos, having hope that there's an alignment, that there's an organization to all the energies of this world and all the organization of the stars and all that is creating, having hope that there is a reason for all of this. That inspires that hope that we have within ourselves. Learning to build that, to strengthen that, comes from recognizing when you have hope and recognizing when that hope has become a little bit shaky. Where do you sometimes lose that faith in yourself? Where do you sometimes forget and start to think that dark, gloomy sky is starting to cover everything? Recognizing and listening to your mind when you have those thoughts, so that you can remind yourself, even when it looks very stormy in the sky, on the other side of those clouds, it's a bright blue sky. The blue sky is still there. The sun is still there. We just have to rise above it. It's one of the things I love with flying, going through the clouds in a storm and seeing that bright blue sky that breaks out above you. And you can look down and see, the clouds, and it's very stormy beneath, but the sky is always there. Having hope, building that hope within yourself, comes from learning to strengthen that. Work this week on finding out how to build to an unwavering, unshakable light of hope that just permeates and radiates within you, so that no matter what challenges come, no matter what adversities you are facing, no matter what obstacles you are in the process of overcoming right now, hope will guide you through that. So allow yourself to really think on that this week. Focus on listening within your mind. When do you lose sight of hope? And bring in that aspect of remembering the hope that is there. Building that capacity within yourself is going to build your capacity to navigate your life, to chart your own course, and to be able to discover all of your options and allow your strength to rise. I hope that gives you some good food for thought to watch your thoughts this week, and I look forward to seeing you next week. If you haven't already, please hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell notification to say how often you want to see our videos. We also have our website, earthandskyscenter.com. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great week.